Geoffrey Giuliano in conversation with Ruth and Angela McCartney, written by Geoffrey Giuliano, narrated by Geoffrey Giuliano.
People say, why doesn't he help you? And because
he doesn't have to. He really doesn't. I still feel that today.
Yeah, but you wouldn't fucking say no.
I wouldn't say no, and I think it would be nice if he did. And I think morally, Angie's time of life, she's 64 3/4, it wouldn't hurt. But then again, you know, why don't the other three Beatles in the estate of John Lennon, why doesn't Pete Best get 50 grand a year for getting fucked? You can ask these questions all day long, and then if at the end of that day you say, well, my God, put myself in the Beatles' position, if you help one person, you've got to help them all. Where does it end? I can quite see the point. I just don't know if I would have the balls to be that hard on family or friends. I couldn't. I just couldn't. I couldn't get an enjoyment out of sleeping a night in a big feather bed with a fridge full of food and a Rolls Royce in the garage if I thought that somebody that I owed a moral responsibility, debt of responsibility to, was living in their fucking car. Couldn't do it. But some people can. More power to them. And if they want to face their karma at the end of the rainbow, that's their problem. I couldn't live like that.
Angela McCartney was born in Liverpool, as you might expect, in November of 1929. She married her first husband in 1956, and their only daughter Ruth was born in the winter of 1960. Angie, sadly, was widowed in 1962, after her husband was involved in a tragic car accident, and some 2 years later, she became acquainted with a lonely widower by the name of Jim McCartney. Jim was a kindly retired cotton salesman and one-time local band leader who also shared the distinction of being the father of Beatle Paul McCartney. The couple were married in 1964, with Jim formally adopting Angie's little girl. Together, quite happily with Jim until his death in 1976, Angie and Ruth were witness to pretty much all of the exciting, turbulent, unpredictable, unparalleled Beatle years. Along the way, both ladies formed deep relationships with not only Paul, but also his brother Mike McGear, all of the Beatles and their wives, of course, as well as a host of other A-list celebrities, rock stars, and people of the day. To enter into a family as close-knit and headstrong as the McCartney clan, however, was often tough going. Notwithstanding the ever-present pressure on their lives as the family of Beatle Paul and the madness which swirled around those lucky, or perhaps more appropriately fated, to be part of his confidential, exclusive inner circle. Angie, ever enthusiastic, optimistic, and full of life, not only looked after Ruth and Jim, but also helped out at the Beatles' office with fan mail, event planning, and later in 1976, starting the Wings Fun Club for Paul's second incarnation pop group, Wings. For Ruth, being the kid sister of the sexy Beatle was at first a thrill and later a definite challenge. At school, she was taunted and teased mercilessly, sometimes even bullied because of her famous family. Following the ever-dignified and gentle Jim McCartney's death from complications of arthritis in the late 70s, Ruth and Angie's relationship with Paul inexplicably soured, and they were soon out on their own once again. The fact of the matter is that they were pretty much turfed out with little support from the mega-millionaire Beatle. The two then moved to London in search of a new life, and for a time they found work with show business impresario Michael Cohen. But unfortunately, nothing much really happened, and they then drifted through a succession
Sample complete. Ready to continue?